2, 1. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Simulation. Happy Climate Action Week this week in San Francisco. We are going to be talking to Laughlin Artz about his project 2020 or Bust, taking climate action. Thank you for coming on to the show.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Really great. Appreciate it.
Really great. Thank you.
And this is not only a great and important week here in San Francisco on climate action and actually taking that action moving forward, but it's also one of the most pressing issues of our time is figuring out sustainability, longevity for civilization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've been doing this for 3 years now.
Yeah, for 3 years.
Director.
Yeah, for 3 years, yes. So not as long as many of the people who are going to be at the conference, but still 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And you take a very action-oriented position.
Absolutely.
On this.
Yeah.
And that's crucial.
Well, I mean, the only thing that is going to make the difference is action.
Yep.
You know, the debates don't make any difference. The glaciers don't care what people think about it. You know, it's just all the debates and the blah, blah, blah. You know, all that matters is action. What got us into this mess is action, and what's going to get us out is action.
Yeah, and then the action that you're giving is very oriented towards individuals changing their behavior.
It is.
So tell us about some of that action,
well,
how you came up with that.
Well, the initial shock that I got was when I had conversations with people who, colleagues that I'd had in previous work that I'd done, who were now at the United Nations and working, pretty high up in climate change. And when I asked them how long we had until the, crap hits the fan, they said, well, it's probably already too late. and they were serious. And that was 3 years ago. And so anyway, the thing that really burned me is that most of the population has no idea the reality of the situation and are basically walking around like, well, yeah, I think there is definitely a problem, and yeah, there's some connection between this and the fires that are happening and the flooding and the hurricanes, and but it's somehow just going to work out, or somebody's taking care of it. The United Nations, the Paris Accord, the billionaires, the big scientists, somebody's taking care of it. And when you actually go into the situation, go to the conferences, talk to these people, you really find out that's not happening. It's not happening. And there is a real aversion to actually having the straight conversation called, we're screwed. Not like a negative thing, but we're screwed, right? And unless we really start to do some dramatic things different than how it's currently going, we're not going to end up where anybody wants to go. And so that was really where, the first thing that we said is that if you're on the planet, regardless of your education, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of where you live, whatever, you have the right to know what's happening because this is your planet. And now if you say, I see what's happening and I don't care, like some people say, hey, I'm gonna be gone before it gets real bad, so whatever, fine, okay, don't do anything. But you should have the right to do something if you want to do something. And right now, where we're headed is that in about 20 years, when it's obvious, when stuff really starts happening, when much of Miami has started to go underwater, not just flooding, when it becomes undeniable for people to ignore anymore, people are going to say, why didn't somebody tell us? And so it wasn't only that everybody has the right to know what's happening, but if you want to do something about actually ending it, not just making progress, not just mitigate, not just, adapting, if you really want to make a difference in ending it, you should have that opportunity. And so that's what, kind of made us the aliens in the room, because nobody was talking about ending it. And the kind of general consensus is that whatever it's going to take, it's way too big for individuals. So that's when we went to work, and we've got these great scientists on our team now, and people from the UN and very, very credible people that kind of thought we were crazy in the right kind of way, worked with us and actually came up with the science of what it's going to take to end it, what that actually looks like, and actually worked a way that individuals, a lot of individuals, 500 million, but still, 1 out of every 14 people on the planet right now, actually can take the specific actions in the window of opportunity that we have, which is about 2 years. But if we take those actions in that window, we will go from a very, very bad future to a good shot at a decent one. So that's why we are out to get the word out that we got 2 years to get our crap together. And you do have the power to make an impact, and if you take these actions, this is actually what's going to happen.
Yes. So we're looking at about a 2 degrees Celsius temperature increase.
That's right.
And that is by 2020-ish.
Well, the deal is, see, that and it's generally agreed that if we can keep our when it really started to accelerate, the temperature really started to accelerate in terms of the rise was in the Industrial Revolution.
Yep.
Makes perfect sense. All of a sudden we're emitting all this carbon in the atmosphere that wasn't happening before the Industrial Revolution.
And we're talking about human specific.
Exactly,
Yep.
right? So if we can keep our warming to a maximum of 2 degree increase and then start to decline, it's somewhat safe, okay? Right now, we just crossed the 1 degree increase. So we're already at 1 degrees. With the carbon that's already in the atmosphere, because it stays there for hundreds of years, we'll absolutely, even if we stopped emitting everything today, we would go to another 0.3 degree warming. So out of the 2 degree window, we're at 1.3. So we've only got a 0.7 degree window left. So, and again, we just want to get that out to the general public. It's not good, it's not bad, it's just this is the deal, and we've got a 0.7 degree window left, right?
You just want to educate, you want to pass along the raw evidence that
That's
this
right.
is what's happening.
That's right.
And that now make your educated decision on what you want to do with this information.
That's right.
And then if you do want to take action in helping move forward with decreasing the amount of carbon that we emit, which it's about 8 gigatons of carbon.
Predictably, we're going to emit 52 gigatons of carbon dioxide equivalencies in 2020, 2021, right around there.
In 1 year?
That's the annual. Okay?
The annual is 52 gigatons.
52 gigatons.
Wow.
If we can reduce that, and all the studies say this, the White House study, the IPCC study, all say that if we can reduce that 52 to 44, we will have arced the trajectory sufficient to actually start to decline so that we can get to zero emissions before we use up our carbon budget, which right now is going to happen in 15 years. Okay?
And again, the carbon budget is the what we have as, it's kind of like we're able to emit before going over the tipping point.
It's like a balloon. You can put so much, in it, and then it explodes, right, or pops. So, if we've got the budget that we've got is going to be exhausted in about 15 years. So once we surpass that amount of emissions, then we've guaranteed a future of at least 2 degree warming. So, that's the whole gig. Now, when he came up with it,
it's got to go down to 44.
It's got to go down to 44
per year, and then that would neutralize the carbon.
That's right. That's right.
Okay, so we'd be flatline then in terms of temperature increasing.
That's right.
By 2020. Okay.
Yeah. So that
it seems like a lot of the pressure here, like we were talking about earlier, is not on the UN or the governments, but more so on us as individuals.
Absolutely.
And then entrepreneurs as well with making the clean energy revolution.
Right.
The clean meat revolution is a big one.
Absolutely. Look, and all the people that are working on policy and very important in government legislation and all that, but none of it is going to produce the impact in the 2-year window. So that's why we're focused on that. Everybody else, absolutely should keep doing what they're doing, but it's the action that's going to make the difference. It's what's the action, what's the direct action with the immediate results. So one of the things that we've got is we've now got the 2020 or Bust app. So you download it, you can get it at the Google Store, the Apple Store, and you go in there, and depending on where you live in the world, and what actions you're going to take, you actually get your 2020 budget. So that I can see, okay, I didn't, buy a plastic bottle today. I took the train instead of drove my car. I, didn't eat that hamburger today. The simple kind of things that anybody can do. I can then see the impact that has on my budget, and with everybody else who's got the app and playing what we call the game of the century.
Yeah.
I can see the direct impact of my daily action on our project to actually get us on track by the end of 2020 to ending the crisis. Because we had the other thing that the ordinary person didn't have was some way that they could actually say, okay, this is the end. This, it's like trying to play soccer where you don't know where the goal is. You don't know where the ball is. You don't know how much time you've got. It's impossible. It's just this kind of amorphous thing. Okay, I'll recycle and hope. So we put it down. No, this is the end game. This is where we are. This is the gap that we've got. This is what we've got to bridge. And as a global collective, we can actually do it. And it's not just the ending the crisis. And that's obviously, I think it's certainly in my lifetime the most dire issue. The most critical issue. But the opportunity for people to wake up to, I've got the power.
Yeah.
It's not the government. It's not, and all that stuff is, but the government was never set up to have the power. It was set up to serve the people. But now it's like, if you listen to people, because I go to a lot of conferences, and my topic is always, it's individual action. A lot of people think that individual action is voting or running for office. All of that's important. But in terms of this crisis, it really is going to be, I'm going to ride my bike today. That produces an actual result.
Yeah. And then you get to actually see how much carbon that you didn't emit.
That's right.
By making that choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Eating a hamburger and using a plastic bottle.
That's right.
This is actually, that's a good way to empower people to understand how much their individual efforts.
Absolutely. So then I it's a different way you get to live your life then, which is, wow, what I did today really does matter. And that the action that I take actually has an impact on you. That it isn't this thing like, well, if it's too bad you live where you live, but it's not happening here, so we're lucky. Everybody's in this deal together.
We were just at one of the events for the Global Climate Action, and we saw the Pacific Islanders, and the Pacific Islanders are doing their dance and their art and their music.
Yes.
It's so beautiful.
Yes.
And then there are these tens of thousands of these islands in the Pacific Ocean.
Yes.
And they have hundreds of thousands of people, and they were telling me about how they just got kicked off their island and had to be brought on ships to Fiji because their island was mined for phosphate.
That's right.
And there are also these little tiny atolls that have just barely that much room. You can feel the ocean breeze on both sides.
Yep.
And so that doesn't take that much water increase to just get rid of those islands.
That's right.
And so these are really pressing issues.
Oh, absolutely. And they're the and I hear people from the Pacific Islands, right? And they'll say, you go back to your office when this conference is over. We go back to people that have nowhere to live and nothing to eat because their farmland is flooded. When you talk about 2 degrees, we're underwater.
Yeah.
Right? And they did the least to bring this about.
Yeah.
They're getting hardest hit.
That's right.
And they have the least resources to do anything about it.
They're not the ones burning massive amounts of fossil fuels into the atmosphere. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
And they're not the ones that are consuming, that have the billions of cows.
Exactly.
That are causing tremendous methane emissions.
Yeah.
So the clean meat revolution, we do a lot of biotech on the show.
Yes.
And so we love talking about clean meat.
Absolutely.
That seems to be huge because as you start growing meat in these bioreactors and feeding the world sustainably, protein sustainably, that's going to take a huge decrease on them.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And one of the things that we have our official global launch for our kind of 2-year sprint in this deal in the first week in December, and so we've got, you know, strategic partners that are lining up and people that are supporting the whole thing because we got to get the whole world in the game. And one of our partners is the Loving Hut, you know, which is biggest vegan chain of restaurants, right? And we have our first vegan billboard on Highway 101.
Where is it?
I don't know where it's on the Santa Clara.
Oh, it's down in Santa Clara.
Yeah,
okay,
so
cool.
it's this awesome. It's 2020 or bust, and go be vegan, and you know. But it's so cool, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that's great about that. People just don't have any idea how much water it takes to produce a hamburger, how many acres of farmland. I mean, it's like, whoa, the connection, man, that you can see the impact that is. You know, it's the awareness that gives you such an opportunity to make a difference that you didn't know you could make.
Yep. I love how the awareness is such a key, the education is such a key to all of the different variables that go into what we experience with our choices of the hamburger
Absolutely.
the transit system.
Yeah.
And the even something like garbage, water bottle waste.
Yes.
And then, okay, so what are, I guess, some of the, I think this would be an interesting question.
Yeah.
Some of the best resources for kids to best understand what's going on with climate action, as well as how your app is a good way for them to understand it.
Sure.
Yeah. How can they learn more about it?
Well,
parents teach their kids.
Yeah, I think
kids are teaching their parents now.
See,
kids need to teach their parents these things.
No, so first of all, I don't know, okay, is the answer. And what I'll say about it is that, you know, I have the opportunity to go into lots of schools because clearly, you know, the education system, youth, major driver in this. And
teaching obedient workers.
And I had it was in Seattle, and I was with well, a couple things. I don't want to say this about kids because it's amazing. So we're in this middle school, or the kids were like 9 to 13, something like what that age group, right? And so I get there, and the teachers, you know, I meet with the teachers beforehand, and then they said their big concern was, they said, please don't scare the children. And I'm like, thank you. I mean, I think I'm like, okay, I'm not going to.
Hey, let's take a walk through these beehives.
You know, it's like I wasn't planning on scaring them, and I said, but I totally understand, not a problem. You know, no, right?
I don't know how much I agree with that anyway.
Well,
because if you never have any ethical scaring of like what's going to happen with bioengineering,
that's right.
Let's just explore
exactly. That's right. So how I start when I'm talking to kids, right, is that I say, so when you hear the term global warming, what do you think? And just listen to whatever they say, right?
Yeah.
So and there's and I'm. And the great thing about kids is they'll just come up as close as they can to you, and they're just right on the floor, and they're like, and
adults are like, give me my space.
Adults are like picking the last seat, and, right? And I started off and I said, so all right. So when you hear the term global warming, what do you think? And this, adorable, she's about 9 years old, right in the front, raised her hand. I said, what? She said, the apocalypse. And I looked back at the teachers and I said, hey, she brought it up, right? Yeah. And then I said, so let's deal with that, right? And then somebody said, well, are we really gonna burn to death? I mean, these were legitimate questions that they have, right? That they walk around with. And I said, all right, so let's just say this. If something really bad was gonna happen, would you wanna know exactly what it was so you could do something about it? Or would you want people to pretend that it wasn't really that bad so that you'd feel better? They say, oh, we want to know what it is. And I said, great. And you lay it out for them in a way, but they understand. And then they say, okay, good, here's what we're gonna do. And they come up with projects, and they got class things and everything. But the best thing about this particular group was that this doesn't often happen, but I got invited back to talk to the parents group at the same school. And I went in there and they were just, I don't know what you did to my kid, but I can't buy plastic anymore. And I'm like, and it was like so great, right? And, you know, and they were like somewhat annoyed, but pretty, you know, but I tell you that when we started doing this and, you know, we got into the app and everything, we had, you know, one of the experts we have with this gamification expert, right? And he said, your target audience is 12 to 15-year-olds. And he said that was one of the most successful campaigns ever done was the anti-smoking campaign. And that's who they targeted because the parents can't escape the kids.
Kids, yeah.
Right?
And they'll come back smelling
and they'll
like
come
smoke.
back, are you still not recycling? Are you ever? And they have an enormous impact on the parents. And at that age, things are very simple for the kids.
That's so interesting. So the kids actually have the power.
Absolutely,
in that sense.
absolutely.
So if you target change campaigns at 12 to 15-year-olds, and they latch on to wanting to make impact, they'll talk to their parents. And get their parents to change.
Yeah, and when you do the math and you know tell them, okay, this is the year that 25% of Lower Manhattan is going to be underwater, they're still alive. That's very different when you talk to people that are 50 and they go, oh, I'll be gone.
Yeah. Okay, so you also, here is something important to unpack. Well, first, a quick story as well. For your experience with young people, Ron and I were just doing a little quick video from my phone to the TriCaster, and we were live streaming it. And the general idea is we just go out into the streets and around this neighborhood and just talk to people from the phone onto the live stream. And we ran into this group of kids that were right in the front hallway. And they were here, I think they were doing the escape room thing in the building. But anyway, it was these group of about 13 to like 17-year-old girls, and it was like 5 or 6 girls.
Yeah.
And we ask them like, hey, what are your thoughts on humanity? Like, what are you caring about right now? And they're like climate. We care about climate action.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, okay, so tell us about why you care about it. And they're like, well, we care about Earth. We care about making sure we can live here longer.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, this is great.
Yeah.
And so then I brought over some of our friends have like edible upcycled granola bars and some of our other like sustainable food like cricket chips and stuff like that for protein. Yeah. Anyway, I brought them some of that stuff, and then they were like, "Oh, this is so neat." So it was so interesting hearing young people that cared about this, and then they're talking to their parents. That's how change is happening. But here's a quick point that I want you to talk on. You were saying this earlier. You said that if you were diagnosed with cancer, you would want to know the truth.
That's right.
And so why would we not want to know the truth? I mean, about climate. We want to know the truth. We want to know how we can take action, just like with cancer.
That's right.
We'd want to know what action we can take to potentially help ourselves or to spend our last time doing what we want to do with our time. Hopefully not with climate. You're not doing it. You can't a short amount of time.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I think it's. I don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna do some diagnostics but there just is whatever that kind of aversion to the discomfort of it. One of the things we say is, what if you had something that everybody needed to know and nobody wanted to hear?
Yep.
Right, and so it's like I'll go to these.
It's like the 1%er, the counterculture. 99%'s thinking one way, you're thinking the other way, but everyone needs to hear that because you're actually correct.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things we say is that hope is the opiate of the powerless. And it's like not bad to have hope, okay, but if that's a key part of your strategy, it's a really bad strategy.
Hope and action.
But there's this kind of mythology out there that do you motivate people with fear or do you motivate them with hope? Well, action doesn't come from either one. Action comes from action. So the thing that we found is that the key is the opportunity. So you give people, like people say, well, the information is power. Information isn't power. You find somebody that's trying to lose weight, their inability to lose weight isn't because they don't have that critical fact called eat less. Okay, but there's a big difference between having the information and then taking the action. So we present the information in a way that it actually is there for someone as an opportunity to make a difference, not just this is what's happening.
Yep.
And we don't, we have I think, it's funny, I go to these conferences and people say, you're here and you don't have to be here. Because, there are worse things than dying of climate change, and one of them is going to a climate change conference. And, it's just charts and graphs and, and who's going to do that, right? Nobody's going to do that. The ordinary person is, that stuff puts them to sleep. So that's why we came up with the app. That's why we want to be, pop culture. That's why you want to have it be engaging, fun, interesting, simple.
Gamified,
exactly.
Music, art,
Absolutely. So this is it. This is just it. This is it.
Okay, so I want to hear your thoughts about the variables that go into this calculation, because there seems to be billions of.
Will
variables.
you look at your guest when you talk to him, please? Look at your guest when you talk.
There seem to be billions of variables that need to be calculated in order to actually come up with a good way of understanding this. So do we actually take into account all of the variables? Or, like, what variables are going into account here? The parts per million of carbon in the atmosphere. How are we actually measuring solar flare intensities? Are we even looking that far away at what's going on with us?
Well, first of all, let me say that this was done by people that are far smarter than me, but that I have been, fortunate enough to have working with 2020 or bust. So this was the scientists, and this took about 2 years for them, like that. And they're great scientists. So, for example, we have, one of them was the lead author on the UNEP emissions gap report, which is kind of the report out there that actually does scenario planning. If we stay the way we are right now, this is where we're headed. If we get aggressive, this is where we're headed.
Yep.
If we get, this is what happens with the Paris Agreement. This is what happens without the Paris Agreement. This, like that.
Yep.
So all that kind of scenario planning went into effect. Now, did they take every variable into effect? No, okay? And, there's all kinds of things like methane explosions from the ocean that I don't even know, are way outside that could definitely happen. There's all kinds of things. Every variable has not been taken into account. However...
That's honesty, though. That's great.
However, the bulk of what's out there in terms of the information that's actually known and that's been verified has been used, so that what people have said, and and you could go on our website and get the rationale document and all the science is there, and verification and studies and all of that. What the people that have seen it have said is, it's not an exact science, but this is sure close enough to what everybody sees as the way that it is. And the overwhelming consensus is, and there was just an article somebody showed me in the New York Times, that we are reaching what I think they called the tipping point, or but that the window is closing.
Yep.
So we're just going to wake people up that we got 2 years, 500 million people, 8 gigatons, let's go.
And then what are some of your favorite clean energies that are coming onto the market?
Bicycles.
Why is that it's so awesome that you said that, because I was at a meditation retreat earlier this year.
Yeah.
And at the meditation retreat, I was told by my friends that I was meditating with, they asked me the question, they're like, do you think cars are good? And I said, well, cars get you from point A to point B faster, and that, and then he asked, why do you have to get from point A to point B faster?
Yeah.
And why are cities organized in the way that they are?
That's right.
And all these different questions. And, and he's like, what if everybody was riding a bicycle? How would time change? How would vehicles, the stuff? Why do we need it? And anyway, I thought that was a very interesting way of just looking at how we pass time and economics and all these.
Yeah, and I mean,
things.
just like you said, but I mean, a lot of where people need to go is in a relatively short distance. People that live in the cities, so it isn't like you've got to travel 20 miles, and if you have to travel 20 miles, obviously that's going to, for most people, that's going to be a different thing. But, what doesn't involve engines at all is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay? And
it's healthy.
it's totally healthy.
Fresh air, lower
You're
body
outside.
exercise.
I mean, it's just it's great, and so that's
Okay, so bicycles. That's a good, that's a really good answer for clean energy. Most people won't say that one first. What about in terms of solar, wind?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think out of those is most promising for our future?
Well, either solar or wind, because there is no engine involved. I mean, it's just there, right? It is literally using the energy source that already exists.
Yep.
So solar and wind
are great.
Absolutely.
Photovoltaic? Is that?
Photovoltaic, yeah.
Yeah, I'm smart.
I'm smart.
Not dumb like everybody says. I'm smart. And I want some respect. Sorry to interrupt.
PV.
Go ahead.
Photovoltaics. So those are getting better. Those are getting more and more, inside jokes. Those are getting more and more efficient over time, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Wind is already there. All this, I think a lot of people don't even realize that a majority of the oxygenation of the planet comes from phytoplankton, from the ocean, 70%, and then about 30% comes from the rainforest, from forestry. So I guess once we get these like educational numbers and stats and get the way that you yourself can make impact,
absolutely,
like you're doing here through the app, that will guide people towards these different changes. Once clean meat come in, all these different,
that's right.
Yep, these different clean energies come in. Okay, so let's ask you a couple questions that we like to ask on the show. Do you have any other thoughts about the climate action that you want to share as well that we may have not have covered?
No, I think that this crisis presents a real opportunity for humanity to really re-examine itself.
Yes.
Look
in the mirror.
What I don't want to have happen is that there's this huge, not that it would be bad, okay, so I don't mean that, but, we're great at coming up with these scientific solutions to everything. And you look at our society and, everybody's got a smartphone now, and we've got, bombs that can kill 100 times more people, in a tenth of the time than we used to be able to. And we've got, but then you look at kind of the quality of life of people, the kind of, and it's like, we're not progressing. And so,
in some ways, yes. In some ways,
yes. But
we're doomed.
And so I just, we just think that it's a real opportunity for the way we consume, the way we relate with each other, the way we relate to ourselves, the way we relate to the planet. It used to be that, back before, the Europeans got this land, which then became America, that it was, before we make any major decision, we will look 7 generations ahead to see the impact.
That's really cool.
Which is awesome, right? Because the earth was their mother.
Yes.
So you wouldn't drill your mother, you wouldn't mine your mother, you wouldn't sell your mother. That was like preposterous.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, here we are, and we look to the next quarter for the earnings and what's going to go back to our shareholders. And the earth is just this resource, and just very, very wacky what it's come to. If I'm going to win, you're going to have to lose a little, and that's okay, and that's and it's just crazy. So we just see it as this real opportunity to rethink all of that and come out of this not just having averted science fiction time in terms of the future, but that there's a real shift in terms of humanity itself. It's a crisis of consciousness and responsibility, not carbon or politics or any of the other crap.
Yeah, that was so well said, Laughlin. That was A grade. That was so good. Holy cow! I just imagine just hanging out with just more of us. We look
Yes.
back in culture,
Yes.
and we look back at how we thought about things, and it
Yes.
was like, wow, let's take care of Earth. This is with stewardship. This is how we behave.
Yes, I am.
And now
I am
it's
of it.
shareholders.
Then they named their, children Running Bear because it's all life.
Yeah,
It's all connected.
yeah, and to get greedy and it's a disappointment.
Let's kill him.
It's see the interesting thing though, Ron, is like, why are you not taking me seriously?
Well, we can't just something has to be done. What are we going to do? Just watch, allow them to destroy our planet?
Yes.
We're going to turn the other cheek?
Yes.
We're going to forgive
Yes.
in this sake? No.
No.
Yeah.
That's right. No, we're
Yeah.
not.
Murder, she wrote.
Our
Murder, she wrote.
hashtag is "This is mine."
This is mine.
And that it's all mine. The planet's mine, humanity's mine, the situation is mine. That it's not this, the good Democrats and the bad Republicans or the bad oil industry. It's like, no, it's all mine. Okay, it's all mine. I've got something to say about this, and these are the actions that I'm going to take to actually express that.
Oh man, yeah, you're right. It's a global increase in consciousness that's happening over the next
Absolutely.
couple decades, and it's really beautiful to see it in young kids and their eyes right now.
That's right.
And their passions.
And we're here for these 2 years, so they've got those decades.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. That was a really great way to talk about what's perfect. Thank you, Ron. Little timer.
Oh my gosh, it's right out of The Wizard of Oz.
It is right out of the Wizard of Oz. Yeah,
My pretty.
I love it. Yeah.
Quiet, you clinking, clanking.
Exactly. Fly, my little darlings, fly!
So as we are increasing our consciousness, there seem to be a lot of other pressing issues that are going on around the planet as well.
Yep.
We talk about this a lot on the show. We see like artificial intelligence and biotechnology, neurotechnology. There's all these things that are kind of evolving out into the planet that we don't really have there's no parental supervision with any of these things. Yeah. So where do you see kind of the evolution? Do you see things realistically, optimistically, pessimistically? How do you see them?
I see them as important, but we've got 2 years. Everything else is everything else, and not that it's less, more, anything like that, but this 2 years, everything is in the balance.
We have a question from one of our viewers.
Yes, let's hear the question.
Yes, Jessica asks, what are the top 3 ways the public can do to prevent what's happening right now?
Yeah,
Reverse it.
that's part of your app.
The number one action that the ordinary person is to reduce your beef intake.
Reduce the beef intake.
Beef intake, yeah.
Bing!
So
One.
if you, I think it's that if every family in America would simply reduce one of their beef meals a week, it's the equivalent of something like getting 500,000 cars off the road. And again, it could be numbers a little bit off, but it's dramatic in terms of the effect. And most of the amount of farmland that is used only for industrial farming, simply to grow cattle. I mean, it's just the knockoff effect.
The water that's used.
Absolutely, the water that's used. Absolutely,
the food that's used.
And it really is a matter of consciousness that when you just start looking around and seeing, as I go through my day, not to do some radical thing. And there are going to be people that go radical. Somebody's going to go totally vegan. And we love the radicals, okay? But everybody's not going to do that. But everybody can look around their day, and when they go to the store and, taking a bag to the store instead of taking the one that's there, reusing something, getting a reusable water bottle instead of all the plastic that you're gonna, unbelievable the impact that makes, right?
Yes.
In New York, I live in New York, the amount of plastic that's used in takeout, ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
So we've got campaigns about that, so it's when you look out and see what you're doing and the small, seemingly small change that you can make, but on a daily basis, what it adds up to is quite remarkable.
It's remarkable. Okay, so these little action items seem to be huge. We have more
What was number 3? It was reduce beef intake, reduce plastic use, and what else?
Well, your transportation definitely makes a difference.
And transportation, yeah.
Ride a bike.
Transportation's huge. I like how you're making everything that's what's seemingly small seem really impactful.
Yes.
And that's really huge. I actually am still upset that we haven't transitioned to biodegradables in every sort of packaging.
Yes.
Because we have the technology. It's just about the increase in a couple pennies per item,
right.
which
That's
is what
right.
people, not the couple pennies per item.
Right.
No. Don't
Right.
take that out of the earnings.
That's right.
Yeah, because that's bullshit.
It is total bullshit. You can say bullshit on your show?
We can swear
oh my
as much
God,
as we want.
what have I been? I've been completely bullshit. Yes, it is bullshit. Exactly. Yeah, oh my God. Yes, humanity is bullshitting itself into oblivion. That's one of the things we
I saw that post.
Yeah.
You can say that we're fucking ourselves into oblivion too. Say, oh my goodness, what are we gonna do?
So you seem very. You're very focused on climate action. That's really important.
Yes.
But at the same time, there are so many other issues. Do you feel as though that the other issues deserve, like artificial intelligence ethics or biotech ethics? Do you think that those also deserve an equal amount of attention?
Yeah, I think I do. Okay, I do. And one of the hopes that what I want, okay, or what we're out for with 2020 or bust is that whatever the issue is, that people have a greater sense of their own power in dealing with whatever it is.
Yeah.
That if we make this thing happen with the climate, what else can we do?
Yeah.
That we've stopped leaving it up to somebody else, that nobody's coming, that nobody's going to save us, that it isn't some great leader's job to make it all better for us, that this is our deal.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, don't look for leaders to guide us out of this. They're the ones that are putting us in this mess. The whole bureaucratical political system is.
Yeah.
We are the leaders,
Absolutely.
That is it.
That's
yeah,
right. We
each
have
of
to
us
take
individually.
charge.
What you're doing here. I mean, this is amazing.
It's a little bit.
Time travel is amazing, but this is pretty good.
It's okay. Time travel is amazing. This is okay.
Time travel would be that's you got me on that one exactly. Yeah.
So I like how you painted this picture of us figuring out climate action and then being able to figure out all these other, because we kind of realize our own divinity and power within ourselves to take on these actions, and then we can work on all these other challenging issues together moving forward. I like that.
And to make it measurable, make it actionable, put it in time, not someday, doing our best, let's stay optimistic. No, I mean, this is reality we're in. It's a real planet, it's real people, it's real carbon, it's real time.
Yeah.
It's really happening.
Yep. Okay, a couple quick questions on the way. All right, first one is, do you think we're alone in the cosmos?
Oh my gosh. No. I can't, No, I mean, I think it's a pretty cool place, but I don't. I have no idea of knowing. But if I was going to bet, I'd say no, we're not alone.
And then, do you think that?
Of course, now, but I don't know what the not alone looks like. I don't think there's somewhere else that people are sitting doing an interview like this.
You don't think so?
No.
No? Oh,
No.
okay.
No.
Okay, interesting.
Although your shirt is awesome, right?
Yeah. They're doing an interview right there, actually.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
So, but I do think there is whatever that would be somewhere else that is whatever that life is. I do, yes.
No, I got to ask you this, Laughlin, because I've really been diving deeper into this sort of like metaphysics, and so I ask, do you think that you are in this flesh vehicle, or do you think you exist somewhere else?
When did this question come up? What did it say that again? This is a new one.
I don't relate to myself as limited in the skin bag.
Good for you. Skin bag. Good for you. Yeah. I want to get.
You're not limited to the skin bag. So what do you?
And the skin bag gets me around.
It gets you around.
So, gotta.
So where do you live? A quick question. Where do you live outside of the skin bag, and how do you transcend the skin bag?
That's none of your goddamn business.
I live in the world.
Yeah.
This is, I'm of the world, for the world, in the world, and part of what's in the world is my peace.
Okay. Do you think that this is a base reality, or do you think that you are in a
base reality,
or is this a simulation?
I don't know what I'm not familiar with base reality, so I just never heard that. I don't know what.
So if you were just able to design your own virtual world and enter it, and here you are, 40 years later, you're in this virtual world and you are who you are. You're playing this virtual game for 80 years in this world, and then the next one you get to go to whatever other virtual world. What do you think that this is a base reality, or do you think this is a virtual one? Simulated one.
You mean life on Earth?
Yeah.
I don't know, okay? And I think it's fun to, I did hear a theory that I enjoyed, okay? So I don't know, but one theory I heard that I did enjoy was that to all of the life forces in the whatever cosmos, okay, Earth is a very hot ticket.
I have heard that too, yes.
Because you get to feel pain, love, heartbreak, loss, ecstasy, joy. It's got all these like emotions, right? So it's like a hot ticket, okay? And I like that, I have no idea if it has anything to do with the way it actually is or anything, but it seemed cool to me, right? Like I thought, this is a pretty cool,
Yeah.
We're and how great that we're, for the first time, at least that I know of, is that a species is actually extinguishing itself. And it has the capacity to be aware of what it's doing. But the question is, will it wake up in time? So it's a pretty awesome adventure.
Yeah. So it's a hot ticket for the wide range of emotion, and then it's also a hot ticket because it's like, will they transcend?
Exactly.
Will they wake up
Oh my
on
God!
time?
Look at
Yeah. That's interesting. I like that one.
Yeah.
We've been hearing that creeping into our lives too. So it's cool that you like affirm that further.
No, I
because
enjoyed
maybe
that one.
on these other rocks orbiting stars, maybe in these other virtual worlds, the ticket's just not as hot. It's just not.
Yeah. Maybe you just have like, romance paperbacks or something. I don't know, or shuffleboard, or but look what you got here, right?
Last question.
Oh.
Okay. What do you think's the most beautiful thing in the world?
Love.
And tell us why.
Because it's love. It's just love.
What does it make? What does it make you feel?
That it's when everything else falls away, what's there is love.
That's so beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You're very welcome. I love your questions.
Thank you. That was a really good answer. I felt everything falling away and just like love right there. Oh, that's so profound. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for coming on to our show.
Oh, you are so welcome.
This was such a pleasure.
Joy. I just thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Come on, knock that shit
off. What a pleasure, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you guys had a good time, definitely give us a comment below. Let us know your thoughts. Go check out 2020ourbust.org. There are links in the bio.
Download the app 2020 or Bust.
Yes, download the app 2020 or Bust. Links in the bio. Go check that out. Take these little action items that you can do. They actually make a big impact, and actually go see and become a part of the movement. Join the family, subscribe, let us know your thoughts. Also, don't just consume this content, go and create, go and start your own blog, go and start your own videos, go and make some business into the world, go and execute, everyone. And thank you, Ron, our producer director. Thank you, Jeremy and Laughlin. This has been such a pleasure, you guys. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Peace.